My name is Ian Henshaw, and I'm the managing partner of Technology Tank. And we're happy to run this event for the cities and counties and citizens of the Triangle. So the format here is we're going to have presentations of things you've worked on, either data visualization, some analysis of data, cross-analysis of data, a data story, or an app. And really, even just talking about what you worked on, even if you didn't make something, kind of the process you went through and some of the stumbling blocks you might have had, that is as informative as some of the cool projects that come out of this, because they'll help to inform others about maybe a path not to go, or somebody will have some input for you about something you can add to your analysis to maybe be more informative and useful. So it's going to be free form. We would like you to show if you can, and we'll deal with the projector issues about getting connected. And then we'll have, after presentations, we'll have question answer, short question answer of each project, so that we can get some interaction between all the people who have been working on projects. So we won't go in any particular order. So who would like to be first to do their presentation?
I don't mind going.
Okay, Elaine.
Yeah.
Thank you. And this is being live streamed, by the way. No, I'm sure we'll have a couple of people watching it, but it'll be good to be able to have the cities and counties that are not here to see the presentations, to be able to have an opportunity to see the kind of projects that people have worked on in this event.
This is fun part. I mean, everyone watching. Can you hear me okay, or do I need to try that over again? Okay.
Yeah. We have to do it on a 75. So, yeah. Really?
Try clicking this on.
Yeah. And then just introduce yourself, and then you don't just share. Yeah. You don't need anybody.
Okay, can you hear me now? Right, so I was here most of the day yesterday, and ran an errand after the event. By the time I was driving home, it had gone dark, and I just thought, driving on a Saturday evening is worse than rush hour driving on a weeknight. And I let that thought pass and carried on, got home, and my plan was just to go and play with the data and see what was out there. So as the new Durham website was a big deal yesterday, and one of the latest cities to go online, and because they're using the new software, I thought I'd just go on there and just start clicking around, see what catches my eye, see how easy it is to use. I didn't want to do anything ambitious, obviously, that I might want to present the very next day. So it was fun and fairly easy. They have lots of data sets there to choose from. And we had presentations on some of that yesterday. And then a Department of Transport one caught my eye. just looking through the catalogue and see Department of Transportation. So even though it's a Durham site, they kept the file on there for the whole state. I'm just looking around and thought, okay, we'll look at this. Fatal crashes ended up being, I thought that looked like the fun one to look at. It's, quite a serious topic. So the portal itself, I was trying to use it as a non-developer, just see how easy it was to get on and start using it. So as long as you know it's there and go to the main link, there you are. You have the catalogue. Pick something that looks interesting. If you've got a specific thing you're looking for, obviously you can search for that. So the first view comes up is the sample of the data. Have a quick look along there, see what's in there. And this is how, by looking at the filters down the left side, I could see it included breakdowns by county, key cities, obviously Charlotte and Raleigh. And then things like the weather, teen drivers, old drivers, the alcohol, under the influence while impaired, is always interesting to look at. So that's when I made the connection between, made that thought on the way home about how driving Saturday evening has always seemed worse to me. By chance, luckily, I noticed, I was clicking around this a bit, but noticed that they did have a day breakdown. So I thought, oh, well, let me see. It looks there as if there are more accidents on a Saturday than anything else just jumping out. I thought that might be fun to look at. I did play with the maps for fun. So what I ended up doing is trying to do the look at the crashes, and these are the fatal crashes. So it's a data set that's already been filtered down to fatal crashes by the Department of Transportation, I presume. And I thought, well, let's see how they compare to the alcohol influence. But I particularly wanted to look at the day of the week to see, get these Saturdays down there. So it was very easy. I think as long as you've done some basic education and have the idea of a bar chart and a line graph, you can get on here and click around and make sense of something. It's always good at some point to look at the actual data and see how that works. But the thing I was trying to get to was, the day of the week. So I played with it a little bit. I didn't particularly want to narrow it down to a year or anything. It wasn't a huge data set. I'm trying to figure out how I... Yeah. Yeah. So you can see, just by clicking around a little bit, I was able to get a look at the crashes by day of the week, going across the bottom there, and then down here the N and the Y, the alcohol involved, alcohol not involved, unknown. So again, I've not taken time to figure out if that means there just wasn't a test, or that's where people refuse a test, or inconclusive. So we've got the 3 lines, and then I think I played around. I think I decided that the column chart worked a little better, and then just to keep it across this 7, making them stack on top. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then I noticed, I got there quite quickly, but I noticed that the days of the week were a bit odd. It's going Friday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday. So as a developer, part of my initial reaction was, oh, I have to, being on the first instance, I thought that's nice, they've already pulled it out by day of the week, but then I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to go in and tell it, Monday's day one, Tuesday's day two. There was nowhere just to click on. And so this morning I mentioned that, and Ian and David were showing me that I didn't have to do that, because my point was to see how this worked as a regular user, and not, not to go and do the work and clean the data set and do work around it, just to get a quick look at and to evaluate the software. So now the trick that I had to be shown is right here, where it says explore data set. But to change that to chart right there, and let's give an advanced option chart. Now in some sites, that option will be there on the menu to go to advanced charts. But in this case, Durham had chosen not to put that out on the main menu, so someone had to show me how to get to that. Because the point was, I'm being lazy, I don't want to have to do work and download the data sets and mess about. I want to see how easy it was for a regular user. And so there we have a day of the week option, to be more precise. Oh, I made you, I have to go back and add the data set again. So here again, the search option works just as well. If you face crashes, select that. Because I guess sometimes you might have pages of options to go through. Because I wanted a week, so just for it to look nice, I want the days of the week to go in order. So again, spy crash day for day of the week. So there's your total, just your raw total. You can see there's a definite spike at the weekends there. But then again, let's see the effect of the breakdown of alcohol on there. So again, I had to just quickly click through things again. And I like the column chart. So now I've got the same information, but now I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the right order, so much more readable and obvious for people. So what surprised me here was, because I was driving home thinking, surely it's not that late, people aren't all drunk already, and it feels worse than driving in rush hour. I was expecting Saturday to come out top. So there is that spike in, not just in fatal crashes on a Friday. I think this is 4 years worth of data that was in the file. This is the, driving with alcohol involved in the crash. Also, it's way too high. That's not good. That's just, big numbers, almost half. We can guess what not. So my prediction was wrong. It turns out that Friday has more of a spike, but there could be reasons that that's just people go out on Friday as much as Saturday.
Or is it Saturday morning?
Yeah. So yeah. So I did save. I saved that as a picture on the desktop, so I can at least show you a zoomed-in version of that and don't have to keep doing it. So that's just a saved copy of that. So again, you could go back to the data there, and it's got the day. It does have a time. So yeah, I'm assuming so. That's a good, you see, that's something I hadn't even thought of. So you think you've got a number, but then think, yeah, does Friday night really mean, you know, it's past midnight and it's really 2 a.m. Saturday morning and so on? You know, you would have to dig deeper. So just with wanting to do nothing more than try out the software and have a play, I did find something of interest. I thought it was nice that even though I'd found it on the County of Durham, that they'd left the whole state's data in there. So I think I saw some federal stuff, but they'd narrowed it down to just their own Durham information to put out on the website. Obviously, I'm sure federal files can get really big. This was obviously not big enough. So I think that's interesting that there was a trick to get to sorting the days of the week without having to manipulate data or anything too special. It's just that Durham had chose to have that feature hidden away and not on the main menu for the advanced chart. But again, as a developer, you could easily add a column where you number the days and make it sort more easily. So we've got something that looked nice and, you know, maybe of interest. And then just out of curiosity, we did start to think, well, if it had had that question initially, my instinct would have been to go to the Department of Transport directly. So we've got North Carolina Department of Transport, which look like they do quite a good job of putting some information out there. And so from the home page, they do have, it's down at the bottom, but you can find a link to make requests for information. I did not find this data set out on the website where I could just click it and get it myself. I thought I had a couple of times. I found some info. We've got, I'll just show you a few links and then. So this I thought might be of interest. It's how I got to that little fatality one. So what the Department of Transport seems to be doing is putting reports out there that you can look at and pre-made graphs, but not quite so easy to find the actual data sets. And so this fatality rate, again, we would have to check, is because this is organizational performance, is this just people working for the department that died? And you know, right now I couldn't say that that's the same data as the filer got, and it's also per 100. If we drill into that, like I was just looking, look at all the deaths at the weekend, how it goes up, and how the proportion of those deaths that are alcohol related are getting in. So, you know, that looks nice, but you have to figure out if that is actually, you know, that might not be the total accident. So I did find a link, a contact us to say where you can fill in a form to request information. And I thought I'd found some data. There was a link to data sources, connectnc.gov. I thought, aha, there it is, the crash data. So going in, again, it gave information, but again, it looked like pre-made reports. I found something there fatal, drilled in. Crash map, shapefile, a crash request form, but that was to request information for a specific crash where you actually told them, you know, this crash happened on Saturday at such a place, I think, and you get that specific info. So I think Department of Transport is making a good effort, but it wasn't, it was just luck that I found that file on the City of Durham's website. So I think that was useful. The software was definitely user-friendly to get started and do some simple stuff, but as with anything to do with statistics, the more serious your question, the more accurate it needs to be, the more educated or knowledgeable you need to do to massage the data. And I'd also just showed that even going to the obvious place for the information, it might not have been there. I wouldn't have been able to do this last night. And then when I did think I'd found a file and downloaded it because it said statewide shape files, I got a selection of files, the DBF file. So I thought, okay, we'll leave that there. But the software, you know, it's definitely easy enough to go in and just pick a set and then play with the, you know, make a map, make a chart, and say we've got that export option. I didn't, you know, at this stage want to do it. The API, I didn't want to start writing code just to sort the days of the week properly. So it was nice that there is that feature in there. It was just taken away. So I hope that encourages you to, when you've got questions, not give up when you've got to go searching for data. And sometimes you'll be lucky and it will be something like that to get you up and running quite easily. Thank you. Yeah.
To get an idea of timing here, how many people need to do or want to do presentations? Just raise a hand. 5 or 6 more. Okay. So we can go, you know, 10 minutes or so. All right. Can we get the next?
I just need the adapter. I have my.
Okay.
I'm CJ, and I work with Keith to answer a basic question of whether or not there was a need for high-end and more housing in downtown Raleigh. What you have on the screen is a picture of a house that existed before the tax evaluation, and we looked at areas and places where we could find replacement housing or high-end housing that replaced previously existing housing. So this house was the picture that you see here is the house before it was purchased, and the tax value that was on the tax bill for the replacement housing. So the question that we were looking into was whether or not there was a need. There's definitely a desire, so people may purchase. So we used some simple data. I didn't pull in the entire data set of the tax valuation. Instead, we tried to narrow it down by looking at an area of the county, specifically in the city of Raleigh. And this is a replacement home. So the story behind it is 8 homes were replaced, 4 in front of a existing community center and 5 adjacent to it. The replacement home for the home that I showed before, this is the home that I showed before, was replaced by this high-end home that obviously sold for much more. Now, this was the lowest resale value for one of the replacement homes. So our discussion was whether or not there was a need, whether or not we had data and information to identify this, and how we could use the information. So Keith will work do more detailed work for his own needs and whatever analytics he wants to pull in. But we wanted to look at the reality of accessing the data in a free market. So we use open data. This is data from IMAPS, the new iteration in the city of Raleigh and Wake County. These are the lots. So we just use IMAPS to do a simple identification of the lot that we were looking at. The lot that is north of it has not been permitted or built yet. The other lots have been replaced. So these properties are all in an area that has the most vulnerable communities deemed by an index of vulnerability for the presence of low unemployment, low educational attainment, and other factors in in Wake County. So the answer is there a need? I think the data shows that there's a desire and it's driven by what the market will bear. And we use open data. You can download the census tract to look at the poverty rate, educational attainment rate, things of that nature. But this is an area that was previously deemed to be a slum and blight and has been replaced by high-end housing that is not at the same market rate. So I think that's just one way to get started on answering a simple, direct question. If you have any questions about why we looked at this area or what it means to the affordable housing, we didn't go so much into that, but we did look at an area where replacement housing was being built and was high. Any questions? Curiosities? Under 10 minutes?
Okay. Yeah, so we bought houses, I think we decided or found out that people from different states or different cities are actually buying houses, but not actually living there.
So yeah, we looked at the owner of the home. So we tried to determine if the homes were being purchased by individuals who were living there or if these new homes were being built by people who already stayed there. In the 8 cases, the homes they changed hands either to one of 3 development companies, and they were not people who lived in that community. They did have home addresses somewhere else, and that's publicly available. We simply did an export of the data. We did a buffer to identify the area of homes that we wanted to look at and just pulled the data in by exporting it. We didn't find any instance of a person building and living at that same address. We found another address in multiple properties. So I don't want to draw conclusions, but yeah, it does have some hallmarks of development, improvement, to the degree of improving the existing community. I can't say that we saw anything that was conclusive.
All right, this is the very first part, but how did you figure out, were these just houses that have had transactions in the last 5 years, last 6 years? How do you narrow it down?
We actually looked at community assets, existing community assets, community centers, parks, things that are listed in IMAPs as places of interest, and then looked at the areas around them. I did buffers. So I did buffers to export the data to see what the housing value was in the last value add assessment.
Is it every 8 years?
It's every 8 years, but in cycles. So tomorrow's Wake County commissioners will vote on whether or not to do one assessment period for all houses. This house was assessed right before the assessment period, but it's valued at $400,000. It assessed at a lot less than that. So of course the value is up. Still on your team?
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'm going to play with the lights a little bit because although we can see better on the live view, it's just totally bleached out. So let's see if we can modify that. Is that better? That's not better? Well, I can't fix it then.
It's offset by moving on the camera.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn these on. I would play with all the switches. Is that better at all, Steve, on the live stream? Oh, you can't see? Oh, there you go. Just a little better.
Okay.
Those guys.
Yeah. This is the thing that I showed yesterday morning, waistline, and then I said, what I wanted to do was add some Twilio integration. And also maybe to enlist some help. So I've got Satish who wants to work on this, and he's actually come on board. He's keen to learn a new stack and do everything else it takes, so it's alien to him. But we talked at the high level, the past day, about what we wanted to do and kind of how we need to implement it. And we wanted to see if we can get something going with Twilio and have something to test. So I invite everybody sitting here who wants to be a guinea pig to come to wasteline.net in your web browser. Perform a lookup. Today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. So the idea would be that we're going to alert people whose trash or recycling or both will be picked up tomorrow. The town care does not pick up typically on Monday, but one way to solve that was to, if we choose Tuesday, doesn't matter which cycle, just stuck a dummy holiday on the Friday to push Tuesday forward. So there will be a pickup tomorrow. So if anybody wants to come down and do the same thing, so choose a blue or yellow, choose Tuesday as the day. If you get this screen, anybody following along, click subscribe to alerts, which is a hastily added button. They opens up a hastily added form. So I am going to add, and I've deployed this, I've only tested this locally, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Right now I have no stains, and they may have admitted that this doesn't work. So I'm going to check my number. So I am looking now at the folder on the server, which did have a whole bunch of zero-link text files. The whole data, it's just a simple files from the database right now, and it's not the final version, just for testing purposes. And I noticed that notification has some data in it, so at least somebody's added the data. I won't echo it out in case we show everybody phone numbers. So let's just see if I submit mine. I don't think I did. So I'm going to subscribe myself. Sanity check. That should have gotten bigger. It did. So now I am going to see, fingers crossed, drum roll, if this is going to, this is the Twilio integration that would be running on a schedule, 5:30 p.m., 7 p.m. Or, there's everyone's number, of course. We can get into that. So let's just see if anybody who got a phone number, or got a message to their phone number.
The French phone number. I
Yeah, well, if it's a French phone number, it just sends them random insults. So I've got this, send from your Twilio trial account tomorrow is pickup day. So that's just the first attempt to go at a Twilio integration. It doesn't actually tie fully into the data, but it looks like it's going to work, and we're going to get there, and we're going to get this finished. So thank you very much.
Any questions?
Any questions? Yes.
So what is Twilio? What does it do for you? I mean,
Twilio is a service that costs money, but the brigades have it for free. And what it does is it allows you through an API to send SMS messages and have replies to those SMS messages, if you so wish, come to an inbox so you can collect those responses. We just want to use the SMS send and also the voice message send. So if you have somebody who subscribes and they don't have a phone or a phone that they keep switched on, or they prefer to have it come to a landline, that is also an option, and that's enabled through their API. So you can either send MP3s that you record, hey, it's going to be traffic up there, or you can just say, say in a pleasant female voice, much like the one I just used, to say this much the same thing. So, we also thought we might run out. It's going to go so viral, we could run out of our free credits. So for the young people, we could enable them to do set up a Twitter account. So we might be tweeting or direct message tweeting if they choose to follow the account. That'll save us some credits. So for everybody else, we'll have more to use and play with. So we'll definitely be able to finish this out and alert anybody who wants to know in their preferred method. Great, thanks.
All right, who wants to go next? Back to you.
Hello, my name is Josh. I'm a transfer engineering student from Tech, and this is Matt. And our project was called Carry Good Neighbor. And our goal was to grab data from the town of Cary. We grabbed the open data from there, and we wanted to centralize it in one place on a website and a mobile app, so that citizens from Cary can go on there and find out about their community, what's around, what parks are around, and what's going on in your neighborhood. So to start off, to show you the app that we made, we go to properties, which gives you properties around the location based off the geolocation of your phone. And you can go down and pick a property that you're around, and it gives you information about waste schedules and what district your property's in, and a bunch of emergency contacts for that area, as well as recent crime that is going on in the area as well. And it gives you some graphs and a map of all of that information. And this is, once again, just based off of where you are. So you can be walking around, you might head to a different area, and it'll give you updated information based off of where you are. We also have this nearby feature. So if you're interested in, let's just say, skating, for instance, apparently it's 1 mile away from where we are, and it'll give you a bunch of information about the skating rink, or in this case, wherever skating park this is, and new schedules, and so much more information for you to work with based on whether or not you choose to be a skater.
So all of this works off of a website, a web platform that hosts the data. And so if you're actually wanting to try it out yourself, the app's not going to be in the App Store, of course, but you can go to a website called carry.onsocialcloud.com. And you want to just go through this too, the same thing?
Yes. So basically, pretty much the same information we provide on the website, but in this case, if you're at home, you're on your desk, and you don't feel like pulling your phone, you're already working on your computer. So go on this website, and you type in your home address. And it'll bring up its best match for your location. Okay? There we go.
Or is it like door?
First one, 103.
And so there we go. Once again, we have these solid waste schedules for that address, as well as the district information, crime levels, and various maps to give you a better perspective. So then you go ahead and click on your district, and it will provide more information as far as who's the representative in your district. And then also, we have another thing that we have there to give you more information on the map of the different districts in Cary. And we also have a little bit of the social aspect to this, where people in whatever community where you're at can choose different topics that is also provided by the town of Cary based off the data system. And you can start your own discussions, whether it's about like a new development being made or a new restaurant being put in place. You're free to discuss whatever you want about those things, and you can join topic groups. And it's a nice live social discussion within your community or neighborhood or however you do that. That's pretty much, that's about it. Yeah.
So where do you get your school data?
Wake County.
Okay, so that's, do they have that open or is that?
Yeah, so Wake County data, it's the school data has, here, I'll just, if I click on the school, which I did a minute ago, that's time. The important thing here is you can see the homes that are within these boundaries are the ones that are assigned to that school. And so using your phone's geolocation or by typing in the address and using the geolocation right from the data portal, we just plug it in there and see where it falls in. So that I'll tell you one of the stories around this. I've been with the Code for America. I've been going to the Code for Raleigh, Code for Cary especially, and I'm new to the area. I'm from Virginia, so I've been looking for a house, and every time I go to look for a house on whether it's Zillow or Realtor.com, there's a lot of information. I'm skeptical of some of it, especially the school data. So every time I find a house that's available, I've got to go look at the Wake County site. I've got to go through 3 or 4 levels of, what's the first 4 characters of your street, what's the street number, then I get this, here's the assigned ones. And so I'm having a hard time going from Zillow, going back here. Sometimes Zillow does have some schools listed there, but they haven't always been up to date or correct. So maybe they are now, but when I was looking at one. So there's just some key pieces of information I always go look for. One way that we would enhance this, which I find useful, especially since the homes in Cary are built, in the 90s and up, the building inspection data is really neat. And so we didn't hook into that, but that would be maybe the next thing that we would do. Because it's just nice to know, did they replace the water pipes, the plumbing pipes, did they, some homes they do a lot of work and some homes they have 0 work. So you just kind of wonder what happened. You see structures that don't look like they were built particularly well, and you wonder if it was permitted at all, and you'll see that, nope, there was no permit. So we don't know the answer to that, of course, so we need whoever did the work. So having this all in one view, especially in a mobile device, is great. You show up somewhere and you just get that information right away. It pulls it from all those sources that you saw on the website.
Anything else?
What's that?
What's that?
This is using a product called concursive.com. They've got an open source version, and they also have a commercial version. I'm an employee, so I have access to the commercial version, and it's a Java, Postgres, PostGIS, Linux stack.
Thank you. All right, who's next? In the back there. And your connection is, you have VGA or MiniCore? Yeah. We can give it a shot. Nope. Try that. Actually, this is the one we have problems seeing. You need to share your screen. Yeah. Share yours. Yeah, that's, we can't get the meeting for the. Can you show it on something else?
It's a whole sort of work on software.
Yes.
I see.
Well, he's only got HDMI, so the problem is we can't get HDMI to sync on this for some reason.
And USB.
Everybody that's tried HDMI, we haven't been able to get it to work. Yeah, so we need to use this and this.
Well, I can hold it up.
Is it possible to describe what you did maybe? And no, you can't show us?
Sure. What I could. Hi, my name is Sal, South Patrol Mungo. What I did is I went around the classroom this morning. I did not start off like my British friend over there, and she had last night to think about it. I had no clue what I was home last night or what I was going to do. But I knew I was going to come back, or so I thought, and I did. And so when I went around, when I came in, I was a little late. I went around and asked everybody, just about, probably about 95% of people, what they were working on. And they kind of described to me some people were just roaming around, they had no specific project in mind. And then I made another second circle from what I heard, and I said, hey, this is what I can do, what I think I could help you. And so what I showed, if you remember Melody yesterday, Melody Kramer Mel, she showed 18F. And one of the things that that group had worked on, they call it scorecard data set. That's now posted to Craggle.com, and that's what I was working on. So I was able to show people, I have about 15 to 18 views on it. And one of them was the geodata where all the colleges are. They started all the way up next to Indonesia. Yes, we've got Guam and Marshall Islands and all this stuff, all the way to the US Virgin Islands, all these colleges, and all the way into the Arctic Circle. Yes, only Eskimos, I'm quite sure they were there. Well, unless you're here to research. And, of course, and so we have thousands of colleges, 80,000 colleges, depending on how we qualify them. So I started showing people how I could get all this data and the things I found. And there are many things I found. I did not know, for instance, that Caltech has the highest SAT scores in which they get their students, higher than MIT for verbal, for math, and for reading. They rank #1. I did not know that. I did not know how many online universities there were. There were about 20. And they're not Strayer or ITT. They do both. They do on campus. And then I looked at which is the most populous colleges. And of course, if you look at the ITTs and the Strayers, they're across the country. Now I look at college costs. And no, it's not Harvard and Yale. It's a music school and a nursing school. And then there's Sarah Lawrence next. And then, you know, all these other Ivy League schools, and a lot of other schools that I've never heard of. And then you get all the way down to Duke, and I was like, wow, these are not even the most expensive schools. Everybody's expensive. Even college is now like 40 grand a year. I'm not kidding you. You know, like Duke was at 60, 58 or something. Whereas the top colleges, the top one was like 64,000 a year. And we're just talking tuition. We're not talking over the board. And so I figured, wow, this is the cost. And David had debt, so I put in all the debt. I was surprised to see how much debt there was. And the debt did not come from the most expensive colleges. It came from the public for profit. It started off with ITT and, well, University of Phoenix. The average debt for those students was $279,000. I was in shock, and I went through, and I'm like, this is just unreal data. So I figured it's got to have some kind of drop off. Maybe the data was false, but people like Mel worked on it, right? So it's got to be real. And then I came down, then I started seeing all of the other colleges like Strayer, you know, and all the other things that you see advertised watching late night TV. You know, watching late night TV. And you know, I was just shocked how much debt. So I figured, wow. So where are the expensive colleges today? So I put them side by side, and what do you know? They have some of the lowest debt ratios. I mean, some of the most expensive colleges, and most I've seen is $7 grand in debt when they get through college. And I was talking to Ashton over there. She says, yeah, that makes sense. She says, because these universities, they subsidize you. The cost is so much, but if your salary or how much you can afford for so much, they give you the rest. She said, I think John Stewart, back there, someone said, John Stewart covered that. You know, well, I'm sorry, John Oliver. And it was just a ripoff because these public universities, that's what he said. I shouldn't say that. You should look at the data and make your own determination, like what Mel said. I should not bias you. And so I was genuinely shocked that I looked at the toughest colleges to get into in terms of the percentage of acceptance. It got all the way down to less than 4% of colleges never heard of until we get to Ivy League schools, which are like 5 to 7% acceptance rates. And you can see, okay, these are the Ivy League schools of the US, and you know, okay, that stuff, that makes sense. So again, I'm still working on this. I want to show quality of life based on education. And I'm going to value quality of life based on your salary, because that's the only data I have to work with. Higher salary, supposedly you could live in a better place, you could have care, take care of yourself. So I want to look at SAT data, BCT data, ranking of school, and race, because that's the data I have. And then see how that washes out in terms of salary, combining them and stuff like that. Because they have unemployment rates too. You know, not everybody gets a job and keeps them forever. And I want to see the impact. So I think that was interesting. So that's the points I made when I went around. And I finally hooked up with Stuart, who's no longer here, and he's working for a Raleigh building permit project. And I finally got data from him, got it downloaded. We went through OData instead of JSON. And I finally got it in. It's about 200,000 records, and it's in 4 cities. And Seattle seemed to be the cleanest I was working on, and I was going to show that. And if you have a permit, there's the permit ID, and you could see all these wonderful things about it. You could get the geodata, and you could see when you drill down from the map, you could go to the street level, and you could actually see the houses. And then I could put in all this data about it. So I have a geo stuff, but if you click on it, I have links. And one of the links that I put in was you click on it and you get the permit itself and you can see all the details, which I think was lovely. But when I went to the Raleigh, the links were not there. So I did a lot of work with the Seattle stuff, and then I started filling in stuff from Raleigh. So some work needs to be done because some of the Raleigh sites were in Texas. I'm like, how did the geo get there? It's clearly the incorrect latitude and longitude because it said Raleigh, Texas. Somebody, I don't think there's a Raleigh, Texas. You know, and stuff like that. Anyway, so I was going to show that, and then on my dashboard, I was going to start showing different amounts of data charted out that could go on the website. It's very easy and easily updated. And I was going to show, I've got mock-ups here that actually written stuff, and show how it could be used. And so all this information, you could look at this something. They could quickly use sorts, look for their names, look for the permit numbers, and readily find stuff with the description. One of the things I wanted to have was, which I put in, was date of issue, date of application for the permit, and the date of when it was approved and when it expired, to see if, you know, hey, you can't build a house in a month, so that should come up right away and stuff like that. So just very informative stuff. And I'm quite sure, because I just started working with this about an hour and a half ago, I'm quite sure when I think about it, you know, I didn't have overnight, I'm quite sure a lot of things, all the relevant things would come to mind. And I'm talking to other people who've been in the business for a while, who've been thinking about it, they would now say, hey, put this in, this would be nice to see. And what I'm finding with this tool, using Tableau, is that this is really easy to do. It's in an hour and a half, I got all this stuff in, and you can see it right there. So, I wish she was working. Thank you for your time.
Do you have any questions for Sam? I think, yeah, it'd be great to see that. So maybe you can come to some of the brigade meetings and hopefully we'll be able to see it or something like that. Definitely. And anybody that's interested in working on permit data and some of those cool things Sal was talking about, look them up. Anybody else? Zadie, you have anything you want to know? Yeah. Oh, we have VGA and Miniport next. Yeah. Big animal. They're going to try to swap it out to another machine. What do you think?
So I'm Adam Martin with the City of Raleigh, and I was excited about having permit data from Raleigh, Cary, and Wake all published for this event. So we had some folks who are not here right now do a lot of good work. So I just want to highlight what they've done to try to help make some of this data useful. So basically, Stuart and David were working on using our projects to compile the different data sets, make sure that they're mapping exactly to the build standard, because there are some variations between each of the data sets, especially with Wake, because I think they didn't have not quite enough time to kind of pull it together and really rationalize their data in terms of the build standard. So they basically they took our projects and they, the Raleigh portal and mapping some of the fields there. And then they carried the new data, the town carry portal here. You can see it's downloading in terms of JSON, and then mapping the fields. In some cases, it matches up exactly what you can see for address 1 and original address 1, or class map, etc. In some cases, you need decisions to map it to a different field if there wasn't one of those fields. So anyway, the result of that is that we've got this compiled data set. It's hosted, this guy works for Strata, it's hosted on the Strata side. And I've dropped this link. So there's a lot of cleaning to still do because of some of the errors in the mapping and all that. But what's neat is that the infrastructure is here. It's just a matter of kind of tweaking it now. And so once we kind of get that cleaned up, we can push out this link to people so that if you want to pull permits into CityGram or into on social cloud app to look at contractors, which I was thinking you guys might do today, but okay, I'm just saying well because I'm carrying it for the problem. But yeah, it basically makes it all a little bit easier to work with. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, we're taking sort of one more step the last 24 hours to wrangle this data together in a useful way. And if anybody knows R and wants to work on this, I can share this link. You can see the Stewart's GitHub account. And you can go and branch it and work on it if you want. Thanks. So what we're going to do is we're going to somehow, I think he talked to Reed about setting up this like our job to run on a server, like an Azure server or something. So we'll figure out either we'll host it in the city of Raleigh or on one of our servers, just to like run the job on a regular basis, so that that last Socrata combined table gets updated on a daily basis. But yeah, I mean, we can kind of host that job wherever. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not like a live thing. It's like as soon as the Raleigh portal updates, this combined portal will update. It's kind of. I think it's kind of a lot of our job to run. Exactly. Exactly. Cool. All right. Thanks.
All right, Z, you guys ready? Or we can, maybe somebody else. Chris, do you got nothing to show? You? All right, let's talk. You're just gonna talk. You're not bringing your laptop.
It's just want to hear about failures.
We always want to hear about failures.
We always want to hear about failures. Hello, I'm Rick Pack. I am a CDC contractor. I primarily am a SAS programmer, but I've done some work with R. And my first exposure to R was while earning a master's in applied statistics, but it's been a few years. And so this was a great opportunity to use R again. And data I found about this stuff, I could easily find black male, 34 years old, pulled over July 4th, 2015. And it does look like, it actually looks like he was not pulling over blacks at a disproportionate degree relative to whites, but blacks were much more likely to incur a speeding violation. But then this morning I looked again and I realized I was looking at a 34-year-old black female in the data. And my data, 34-year-old black male, wasn't there. So that's something to consider, I guess. Then with R, I'll just say the failure that I had. First, I was attempting to download census tract data spent hours on it. Ian saved me because he said, hey, you can't do that because you can't access FTP through FTP here at NC State. You know, it worked earlier in the day. That's why I kept trying. So that was a lesson learned. Make sure you can actually acquire the data. You've heard warnings about R giving you errors that aren't very informative. The error I kept seeing was something like unable to load data, which is the exact same error you'll see if you specify in R an invalid or just wrong file name for the read OGR and another function that allows you to access shape files. So anyway, I guess the message there is that if you use R, as you will hear repeatedly, the errors may not help you very much. And then I also was attempting to, after I did read in the file, merge data that I'm just not familiar with. ArcGIS data, I suppose is the right term. Latitude and longitude in one data set, and something else, and none that I can't remember now. So that's just a little bit about what I've done, and I look forward to working more with GIS data and becoming more informed. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys ready now? Awesome. Is there anybody else that wants to present after Z? Yeah, okay, cool.
Hello. So yesterday we were talking about yes, my name is Lady Ortiz and this is Ashton Drew. And yesterday I was talking about the project with the United Way. And one of the things that we're looking at was population growth, population actually. Last December, the Census Bureau published a 5-year statistics that they published demographics, and it was for the first time that they have a non-overlapping data set. So you can look at what they had for the 5 years in 2005 to 2009, and now compare that to the 2010-2014. And we wanted to see how we were changing in terms of population and poverty. Based on the data, I had previously looked at the number of children living in poverty in 2010-2014. That's one of the maps that I showed yesterday. And I was able last night to pull up the 2005 and 2009. Well, this is a it's not a static website. You can still click and look at the data, but one of the things that we wanted to do here was being able to have these two maps side by side. And that's the project that Ashton and I worked on, and she's gonna tell you all about it.
So yeah, Zadie was just looking for someone who could take what she built from in R Markdown and move it into Shiny, so it could be a little more interactive. And so that's basically what I did. She had already built maps in a Shiny package called Leaflet, which was what she was had interactive. So I have not. Usually, I'm starting with making my maps from scratch. Some pros and cons with starting with a chunk of already made leaflet code and then building that interactive, or adding more interactivity onto that. One of the things we wanted to be able to do was, so we can change which of the variables she is looking at from her table. So in her markdown, she has just one variable showing. Now you can pick whichever of the statistics you want to look at and compare them. That's initially children in poverty. So it'll update. Then, and we're hoping to put in some text that will provide some summary statistics. One of the things that she wanted to do was to be able to show underneath, or to compare, to calculate the change statistics. And it's a little difficult to see, but one of the challenges, we're still working on getting those change statistics in so that we can have a single table of change. But some of these census tracts, like this one here in green, get all split up in other years. So the number on the census tract doesn't directly match, and so you're like, oh, population poverty went way down. No, the census tract got a lot smaller and had new divisions added onto it. So we're still working on checking the math to make sure that the statistics we report are correct. But then we'll be able to look at, in addition to the summary of the data itself, looking at the table that shows the change from 2009 to 2004. And this bottom part, which is the data table, then you'll be able to sort on the change in, say, number of children in poverty. Right now it's just the number of the block data. But, so I think if we can work out that math, then it will have the statistics that she wanted in there, and can publish it to a browser where her medical partners can look at it.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we had was, like Rick was mentioning, working with geospatial data, which is different. So
one has XY as lat and long, and one has XY as long and lat, which was quite a few hours of sorting out why things would happen. So they are the right numbers.
Assuming the map would be both good.
no, they are independent at this time. One of the things we're trying to do was clicking on one and having the same or similar on the other side, but yeah, well, now we don't.
We can get so that it pulls, like, I mean, from that point, like, it pulls the matching census tract. The problem is the matching census tract isn't necessarily the same area that it was in the first one. But I can put in I can make that be a check. Like, if the area is the same, then say we're looking at statistics for an area that's the same, or it puts up a warning that says we can't do the comparison for the choice that you selected because the census tract size has changed. And if we can find a way to, if they nicely have matching boundaries so that when they cut them, they're within, like, the same larger area and we can match it by the code, then you can still report a summary statistic and do that math. But the numbers were looking kind of funny. So we're like, either these polygons have some rough edges, there's some things going on, so it takes a little work. So that's it.
Thank you. All right, and no computer, so you're just gonna talk.
Yeah.
Or anybody after this? Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jimmy Backus. And so I'm kind of new to this. So my idea was an app called A Time to Die, right? So basically it's going to take the bike crash data and automobile accident data and going to tell you when's the best time to die so that we can avoid it. But I didn't even know. I was like, okay, this is open data stuff. I don't know what it is. So I was looking up Wikipedia open data, and I took it to another tab, and I was like, I got into it. So I kind of got lost track of my project, and got late. So I had to drive back to Greensboro. I got tired, so I went to sleep. So this morning I had to go to church, and I'm here. So I haven't really started like implementing my project yet. So it's on the work on. So I will be coming back to the Cope Carry this Tuesday. Check them out, and we'll find out when's the best time to die.
Now, so you're from Greensboro, so there is a code for Greensboro, there's a code for Winston-Salem, and they meet on Wednesday nights. So you can also go to those meetings. You'll find other groups of people that are as engaged as people in the triangle, so you don't have to drive all the way here if you don't want to. But we're more than happy to have you.
I love y'all now.
Great. And is there anybody after this? This will be the last presentation.
Hello, everybody. My name is David Mesa. I currently work with the City of Raleigh as a contract developer. I build web applications, mostly the front end part, and mostly just applications that deal with GIS. So like basically mapping and displaying information. So for this hackathon, I decided to take an idea from one of my co-workers, which was to there's a Twitter account that tweets every time there's an accident. It's Robbie with 911. And basically, yeah, every time there's an accident, they tweet about it and they mention whether it's, whether there were any injuries, and they tell you the address where it happened or the street intersections. So my idea was to have a streaming service that is listening to the Twitter API and just kind of grab that information and display it on a map in real time. And I actually didn't get as far as I wanted, so I didn't finish the project, but I'll show you what I have so far. And essentially, so this is a Meteor application. And if you're not acquainted with Meteor, it's a JavaScript framework. It has, it works both on the client and the server. Some of the neat features is that it's a full stack framework, and it has live update features. So if anything updates on your database, it'll be automatically reflected on your front end too. So yeah, that can save me a lot of time. And I think it uses Node Express and MongoDB. Then on the front end, it by default it uses Blaze, but I just decided to use Angular because that's what I'm mostly acquainted with. And essentially, yeah, what it does is this application is listening for tweets. Right now from the Raleigh Wave 911 account and my account, just to kind of test it. And so as you can see, for example, I'm here on Twitter, and I'll just make a new tweet, just for them. And you can see as soon as I press tweet, it'll be reflected on every client that's listening to. I broke it like this one, see this. Right, so, yeah, it actually started, and, refresh the page. Okay. So let's try that again. Tweet. And you can see here in my console, it was listening for tweets, and then it automatically, heard that, or it grabbed that tweet that I sent, and it pushed it to the MongoDB, and then also here on the web page, it reflects the changes on the database. And it happens on any client that has that page open. This one I had to refresh it because it had some compiling errors. But basically, if you had it open, it would reflect on every single page without you having to refresh the page. You would have an open connection to the server and automatically update. So what are the next steps? The next steps would be to, so I'll show you very quickly. This is the Rallywake 911 account, and they tweet the accident. They tell you whether it's damage only or there are any injuries, and they show you the address where it happened or a street intersection if they don't have an exact address. So the next steps would be to basically geocode these addresses and show them here in the map. Yeah, right now this is just a map, it doesn't do anything, but I would like display those markers in there and kind of have some color coding, whether it was an injury or just an accident with, yeah, with no injuries. Yeah, I think that's it. Any questions?
Oh, you, come on. So no laptops and no presentation. That's all.
Hi, my name is Maria, and I came extremely late and missed the whole event. But I had an idea that I wanted to perhaps maybe talk about. And I don't know if it's been done before, but it's an idea. And so what I was thinking is I wanted to see if there would be a way to find, to get records on, unlike the guy who wants to find the best way or best time to die, or the guy with the accident, unlike that perspective, I was thinking if there's the best way to keep track of births, women having kids, and eventually being either single parents, single mothers, or single fathers, or whatever the case may be. And if the kids are doing okay, there's a way to keep track of that. If the parents are doing okay and they need help, if they need services, whatever it is, if they can't afford to buy diapers, formula, whatever. There's a lot of stuff that you need when you have children. And so having some kind of record of that and all over the US, not just locally. Oh, we can start locally. But I think I'm thinking, the births, and there's a certain amount of births in white, black, Hispanic, Asian, all the races and everything. Just keeping track, and we find out the poverty levels and all that together. So I was pretty much wanting to help find a way to help single parents with little kids. I've met several single parents. And some of them are doing things that are not appropriate because they're having issues that they can't get childcare, they can't afford childcare, or they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So a lot of times they can't afford diapers and this and that. So I was thinking if there's a way to maybe find a way to help them. So.
Thank you. So Maria, I'll just say that I'm sure there's a way to do that, but this is an open data conference, and open data does not include personally identifiable information. So in an aggregate, that might be possible, but not on an individual basis. So open data would not be really the forum to do that, but maybe in a way to aggregate data and find a way to find open. Right. So with that, I would like to end Triangle Open Data Day. Thank you all. Let's give a round of applause to all the people who presented their projects. Thank you. We'd also like to thank the organizing team, so Ian Soleil, definitely put the hard work together. We've had several people step up to help. Chris and his wife Tracy have been doing a great job with registration and Stephen here has been working with the registration and the live streaming. Shout out to the sponsors of Open Data Soft, and thank you to Lee for being here from Open Data Soft, our gold sponsor. Helped us feed you some good food during the event. Also AIS, so Ian Soleil works for AIS, they're a bronze sponsor. And then the College of Engineering for the use of this facility during the event. I think this is a great place to have this sort of event. So let's give all the sponsors a round of applause. Is there anything else?
I would also like a huge round of applause for this man, all the logistics and the food.
Well, thank you, Rick. If there's nothing else, we'd appreciate a little bit of help to collect the trash and tidy the place up. We want to be good stewards and, of the building and be able to be asked back. So if you can help us do that and help us this tear down, it won't take very long. And we appreciate your support, and we appreciate all of you in attendance. Thank you.